Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 12th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday to ya. Hopefully the day has treated you well. I know for me, it's been a good day. We got up. I slept pretty well. I got myself together, got to work in a nice, timely fashion. Work was kind of the opposite in a way of yesterday in terms of like, I had what looked like a good amount of work, like about four or five buggies to work with, and I was like, all right, well, the way the rest of this week has been, we'll just keep chaining the work. We'll be totally good down here all day. But I actually wound up, I think maybe around somewhere after like I think 2 or so. We ran out of work. I just, we were done, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. So I wound up having to go upstairs, real quick to see if there was anything, and there wasn't. So, I wound up just going back downstairs and waiting for work. But overall, that was fine. A little blip on the radar. I'm glad I didn't actually have to do any putbacks or anything like that. Clap it up. Yay. And, more or less was just a chill, relaxed, fit day at work. We did a full day, though. That's also good. So I got my money. And then we went to the gym. Gym was busy, but we did get a Smith machine. And I know I was talking all that shit about, hey, it's just about being consistent. We're not trying to go hard, da-da-da-da. I high-key wanted to say fuck that today. So I tried to train heavy just out of nowhere on a random Thursday. And it went okay. Definitely, I'm kind of confirming my, suspicions, my fears in terms of like not being able to have the momentum that I want to have, like on something like the Smith machine when I'm trying to train heavy. Just it doesn't work as well. I'm kind of just coming at it out of the blue. And, I just don't feel as effective. I don't feel like I get the workout results I want there. But that being said, I tried, and overall it didn't kill me. I will say I went too crazy. I tried to go 4 plates. 4 plates. I tried to go 4 plates on my squat. I tried to go 4 plates on my deadlift. Pretty much both were failures. On the squat, I was able to at least hold the weight, so I'll take it. It didn't break me, but I couldn't even, I'd barely even call what I did a partial. So, tried that, struggled with that. And I was like, look, we're going to try the deadlift at 4 plates and see if we can do it. And I literally went for it. And like the second I went to go go up, like lift, I just saw the future, and I saw a dark future where my back was just sliced in twain, and I was ruining my weekend, and I was unhappy, and I was like just racked with pain. So I just let go. I was like, nope, it's not it. It's not it, baby. And we dropped that shit right back down to 315, and we did that. It was fine. We're good. I feel good. But yeah, it wasn't the move. And the one takeaway I will have is me a year ago, even months ago, if I had a failure like that, it would have ruined my gym session. I would be here crying about how I was in my head for the rest of it, da 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 da. No, it's fine. We made an attempt. It was a little too bold, and hopefully one day I will get it, but today is not that day, and that's okay. I still had a good session. So post the Smith machine, I was able to get on free weights as well. So I was like, okay, hey, we're still lucky. And did that. From there, we did get some core work in, and then I did my hour of cardio. I will say I was gassed out because not only did I do, more of a heavier session on the Smith machine, I also added a set. So instead of doing 2 sets on each, I did 3. It just kind of caught up with me, and I was like, I'm not doing the filler work. Plus, I just don't have the time. I'll be running really late on my night if I do that. So we skipped the filler work, but we did do cardio. overall, good gym session. Post the gym, we came home, we had a snack, we had our stretch, not in that order, flip it, reverse it, and then we did some research. And here we are, ready to talk about some news. It was a very active news day, so let's not delay. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. I will say, we have been talking about Iran a lot, and that is just going to continue. Sorry about it, but that's the news, baby. It is a pretty pervasive thing going on right now. We'll say I'm going to try not to get bogged down in a forever yap about it like I did last episode. But, sometimes I just got to take the opportunity to get things off my chest. What can I say? Okay. From Yahoo News. Iran war updates. New supreme leader vows to avenge blood of martyrs. Oil prices surge amid tanker attacks. Now we're going to skip through this article. It's kind of one of like a live ticker situation. So I'm going to hit this first spot, but then get to the part that I really wanted to cover. Mojtaba Khamenei issued his first statement since his appointment, saying Tehran will keep the Strait of Hormuz shut and retaliate for the deaths of children killed in a strike at a girls' school. Now, this is a relevant thing, him making a statement. I've heard that it was a written one because, and this is me like listening on my drive, like listening to the BBC. They're like, yeah, we don't know how injured Khamenei is. Like, we just know that, he was, confirmed to be involved in that strike in some capacity, the one that killed his father. But we don't know how injured he is. So maybe this isn't even him. So like they're playing that little side game with that shit. I'm like, no, I feel like this is dude. Also apparently making waves, I think, because he is also on X. He's a verified user. And that's always a thing. It's like, you have a terrorist on this app. And then it's like, free speech. I actually don't know what Elon Musk did with that. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what I came to cover today. But also him making that statement offsets the statements that Trump and the Trump administration is trying to put out, essentially putting out this whole fucking fire that is, this oil crisis because of this fucking war. The fact that there's not some kind of timely wrap up here is making things complicated. Trump is trying to dissuade people of worry by saying, hey, we got this. It's cool. I'm not telling you exactly when it's done, but it's almost done. It's pretty much over. And then you have Khamenei saying, no, it's not. Nothing is changing. We are coming at you with everything we got, and that's the fucking game. So him making a statement is relevant in that regard as well. But let me go ahead and just move to the next bit here. A U.S. military plane went down after non-combat incident over Iraq, officials say. U.S. Central Command reported Thursday evening that a large KC-135 refueling aircraft was lost following an incident in friendly airspace over Iraq. 2 aircraft were involved in the incident. The KC-135 crashed in western Iraq. The other landed safely. Rescue efforts are ongoing. This was not due to hostile fire or friendly fire, CENTCOM wrote in a statement. It was unclear how many service members were on the downplane or whether they were able to eject before it went down. Also, this popped while I was doing research before I decided to start recording. So we'll just read this headline. Actually, I guess from the Washington Post, which I am paywalled from, but whatever. U.S. sailors injured in fire aboard aircraft carrier supporting Iran war. So the U.S. Gerald R. Ford was apparently lit aflame, suffers of some kind of fire, and 2 U.S. sailors were injured. So I don't really have the details on that, but shit is active. Now, let's move on. Actually going on to Virginia from NBC News. Old Dominion shooting is being investigated as act of terrorism, FBI director says. Let's see here. Authorities are investigating a fatal shooting at a Virginia college Thursday as an act of terrorism, FBI Director Kash Patel said. The shooter was identified as Mohammed Baylor Jallow, 36, of Sterling, Virginia. Two senior law enforcement officers briefed on the matter told NBC News. He was also killed in the shooting. Officials said the suspect was previously convicted of attempting to provide material support to ISIS, which I believe he served 11 years for. FBI Director Kash Patel said on X that a group of brave students who stepped in and subdued the gunman most likely saved lives. The shooter opened fire at about 10:49 a.m. in Constant Hall, the university in Norfolk, Virginia, said in an emergency alert. Two victims were taken to the hospital and appear to be stable, ODU Police Chief Garrett Shelton said. A third victim took themselves to the hospital, he said at a news conference. One of the victims is deceased, and we're working on getting in touch with the family at this point, he said. The victims have not been identified. Two of them are members of the school's ROTC program, NBC affiliate WAVY of Portsmouth reported. So yeah, as of my recording and to my knowledge, that there was just the one death. I might have to come back and do an update or correction on that. Obviously, very unfortunate, very sad situation. This was a person who, I guess had a history of wanting to provide support to ISIS. I think in this article they referenced that he had tried to give gift cards. I guess I would imagine like a Visa gift card to help support the effort, which I just can't imagine that conversation. Like, yes, did you get the $100 Visa? I got you, inshallah. Like, I don't know. But after being convicted from that, I guess they took that into Actually, no. Well, let me actually read a little bit more here. Let's see. While law enforcement officials have not yet confirmed a motive, federal authorities said in a previous 2016 case that Jallow was involved in a plot to murder U.S. military personnel. He traveled to North Carolina in 2016 to attempt to buy a AK-47, but the gun owner refused to sell it, according to federal authorities. He then bought an AR-15 at a local store on July 2nd of 2016 and was arrested the next day. And then also in 2016, that's when he was trying to provide funds to Islamic State or ISIS. So yeah, I mean, he was pretty active in trying to support. I think this is a little bit different than some of the other situations I cover where some people are inspired by ISIS or whatever, where they're like, okay, we see what you're doing. We want to match that energy. We're going freak to freak here. We're going to try to make a bomb or something. Whereas this is like, no, I'm actually making contact with people. I'm actually going to try to do something. I feel like this goes from inspired to now you are getting to a point where you're working with them. And then you have the situation where we don't have the details yet, but I don't know. Maybe it's seeming like, okay, you had some beef maybe with ROTC because this was like, where you're from. You had your own little shit here. And, also this dovetails with your, ideology now. I don't fucking know. I imagine that will, come out over time if there are, more details, more information, revealed. But that wasn't the only shooting that took place today, so I really don't want to linger too long on this, though I will say, still an unfortunate situation, still a very traumatic situation for anyone to go through. So my condolences there. Let me take a quick water break, and then we're going to move to our next story in Michigan. From the Associated Press. FBI. Attack at Michigan synagogue was a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. An attacker armed with a rifle was fatally shot after ramming his vehicle into one of the nation's largest Reform synagogues Thursday in what federal investigators said was an act of violence targeting the Jewish community. Jennifer Runyon, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Detroit field office, called the incident deeply disturbing and tragic and said the FBI is leading the investigation. The agency considers the crime a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community, she said at a news conference Thursday. Investigators have not determined a motive yet. What drove this person into action has to be determined by the investigation, said Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard. The vehicle caught fire after crashing into Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township, just outside Detroit, and driving through a hallway as security opened fire, authorities said. None of the synagogue staff, teachers, or the 140 children at its early childhood center were injured, Bouchard said. In the minutes after the attack, smoke billowed from the synagogue. One of the security officers was hit by the vehicle and knocked unconscious, but did not suffer life-threatening injuries, the sheriff said. And 30 law enforcement officers were treated for smoke inhalation. West Bloomfield Police Chief Dale Young said Temple security officers engaged the individual and neutralized the threat. The suspect was found dead inside his vehicle, Bouchard said. A very traumatic, very scary situation. I know I had saw video of this while I was on my break, and you just see a synagogue just on fire, just like smoke coming out of everywhere. And I was like, what has happened here? Like, and then I heard like, okay, a car had ran through, and I'm expecting to hear like casualties, just like, potentially really bad numbers. But it's like, no one was killed, just a security guard who was injured outside of the, perpetrator. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for it. But yeah, they were killed. They were the only, actual fatally killed. I don't know. I can't muster the words for that. But a very traumatic, once again, situation. I know I find myself repeating here. But yeah, I don't know. I'm weirdly at a loss for words. Just, I guess, doing these back to back. This does feel like a we're so back situation because, once again, saying this as an American, like, we have a shooting every day. But I don't know. These couple, I guess, have a little bit of a different twang to them, a different tenor. We'll see if there's going to be anything more like this in the future. Obviously, I'm not open for that. But at least in the Michigan situation, once again, none of the children were hurt. None of the people who were, attending, or at the synagogue at the time were hurt. That's good. Once again, outside of the security guard who was injured. But yeah, the next two stories are updates. We'll go ahead and get to them. Going back to NBC News. 19 people convicted over deadly Moscow concert hall attack claimed by ISIS faction. Yeah, it's a lot of war and terror. Just kind of like realizing that was kind of the motif of this episode. And sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes it's murder, murder, murder. Sometimes it's war, war, war. I would love to say, hey, we have an episode that's just all good, but that's just not my style. Usually when I get a guest on, we do some oddities type stuff, but it's been a while. Anyway, let's get into this. A court in Moscow on Thursday convicted 19 people of involvement in the 2024 shooting rampage in a Moscow concert hall that killed 149 people and wounded over 600 in one of the deadliest attacks in the capital in years. A faction of the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack, or for the March 2024 massacre at the Crocus City Hall concert venue, in which 4 gunmen shot people who were waiting for a show by a popular rock band and then set the building on fire. All 19 defendants were handed lengthy prison terms. 15 were sentenced to life in prison. 1 was handed 22 and a half years in prison, and 3 others were given 19 years and 11 months each. A trial began in August of 2025 in a military court, as is customary for terrorism charges, and took place behind closed doors, with the authorities citing security concerns. President Vladimir Putin and other Russian officials claimed, without presenting evidence, that Ukraine had a role in the attack. Kyiv had strongly denied any involvement. And I'm pretty sure I said this at the time when we had talked about it when it happened, that I don't see the connection there. I don't see the line. Are we implying that like, okay, Ukraine is funding ISIS terrorists to do it? I don't know. I could see some breakaway Russian separatist faction. Sure. I could see, some Ukrainian side thing. Sure. But ISIS, I don't know, man. That feels like a stretch. I don't, that's a bullet curve if you ask me. But I also get why Russia's going to try that, because at the end of the day, it's propaganda you can use. You can say, hey, you guys did a thing to us. You did some terrorism to us, so we're going to like piggyback this on top of our little war we got going on here. And we're going to, kind of swirl it all together, say it's all one big problem. We got to deal with that, huh? And use that for whatever you need to. I don't know. That's nation state shit, man. I don't know. That being said, more or less wrapping up this chapter on that. I know we had covered that and then just kind of fell off the radar. That explains why there wasn't a public trial. So it wasn't like there was beats to cover. It was just like, okay, we have a verdict here. This is how much time they're gonna get, and there you go. Case closed, so to speak. There is another update that we have coming out of the Associated Press. Speaking of, I guess you could say, unfortunately, case closed. We are going to be going to Israel for some more law and order bullshit, some more military court bullshit. But let's go ahead and take our last break. I need it. I'm a little frazzled, apparently, more so than I thought I was going to be. But so it goes. Let's reconnoiter. Let's regroup. You know what? I can't even complain. I can't blame anything on no stress. It's been a good week. Sometimes, you're just a little off a little bit, even though you're good, even though you're solid, I will say one thing I like about this hobby of mine, this podcasting, blogging thing of mine, is I initially thought maybe if I did enough hours, I would get to a level, a skill, experience that I'd be like, all right, I'm good at this. I feel good. I feel confident. I'm gonna hit this shit exactly the way I want. I don't think that is ever going to be a summit I reach. But I will say that with my experience, the time put in, I feel comfortable. And it's nice. Even if it is something that's above my pay grade, out of my depth, whatever, I'm at least down to attempt to try to talk about it, because I think it's important. That is a charge to me, and I've still kept that, and I'm glad that I've kept that, and I continue to do so. But yeah, cheers. I'll drink to that, I guess. Okay. Israeli military, let me run that back. Israeli military drops charges against soldiers accused of sexually assaulting Palestinian detainee. Israel's military on Thursday said it was dropping charges against 5 soldiers accused of beating and sexually abusing a Palestinian detainee in an alleged assault partially caught on camera. The decision, which came as much of the country's attention was focused on the war with Iran, closed a flashpoint case that has bitterly divided Israel since the soldiers were arrested in 2024 at the notorious Seed Timan military prison, prompting anger from members of the far-right government and hardline ultranationalists who violently overran the prison in protest. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed the announcement, while human rights groups accused the military of ignoring one of the gravest instances of abuse in the country's network of wartime prisons. Now, we're gonna run this quote. Israel's military advocate general just gave his soldiers license to rape, so long as the victim is Palestinian, said Sari Bashi, executive director of the Public Committee Against Torture in Israel, after the case was dismissed. She said the decision was the latest in a long line of actions that whitewash abuses against detainees whose frequency and severity has worsened since October 7th, 2023. Netanyahu welcomed the decision, saying the state of Israel must pursue its enemies, not its heroic fighters. And that quote alone is so like disgusting to me, because you are doing a thing where not only are you protecting these motherfuckers, you are giving them not just a license to kill, a license to violate a human being, to just eviscerate, how, like, do your worst to your fellow humans, because it's for the good of us, of our ethno state, of our nation state, whatever you want to fucking call it right now. That is very upsetting, to not just protect it. Because I wanted to use this knee thing, like, oh, they're sweeping this shit under the rug. They're not sweeping this under the rug. Quite the opposite. They are lauding these people. They're saying, look, we ran through the investigation. You shouldn't even be here. Charges dropped. There's video. There's at least partial video of this. And they're like, that's not enough. That's not enough to warrant these people having to fight for their, their lives in terms of like jail time or anything like that. Like, there's just not even like an admittance of any guilt. No, you're fine. You're completely in the clear. Go out and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, who knows? Maybe these people are going to be allowed to go back to their posts. Maybe they're just going to go back to just civilian life, and now they can write a book or go on and do some interviews about this fucking shit, become a content creator or something. It's disgusting. It's highly fucking disturbing that it's, once again, it is not just swept under the rug. You get a pat on the back for doing it. Like, these are human beings that you violated, that you did the shit that you did to them. You know what I mean? Shit that they have to live with for the rest of their fucking lives. So yeah, I mean, and that's just a case, that's just an instance that we know, right? So yeah, I mean, we could get into the guts of it. I really don't want to. It is here if you would like to read it and go through some of the details. I guess while I'm scrolling through it, this is a bit of an aside, but it's a part of the story. In November 2025, after much speculation about how the leaked video got out, military advocate General Yifet Tomer Yerushalmi, the top legal official in the military, admitted that she had approved its release, saying she had wanted to show how serious the abuse was and convince people the military had a duty to investigate. Which, once again, it led to them saying, okay, we investigated, you can go home now. Charges dropped. Facing an uproar from Netanyahu's government, she abruptly resigned and then disappeared, only to be found phoneless on a Tel Aviv beach after a frantic search by authorities. The phone, believed to hold possible evidence against her, was later recovered in the sea. They went through more effort to get her and hold her accountable for leaking that information that she should have fucking leaked than they did the actual people who I keep using that word because that's the bumper, like, kid friendly word I can use here. I feel like I cannot square that. I don't know how you do it. I guess religion helps. I guess you put that shit on the Torah or something. I don't goddamn know, man. It's fuck though. It's terrible, man. But that's really all I had for today. I know we are ending on a really fucking sad, sour-ass note. But that's the news for you. Like I said, man, we're at fucking war. So there's that too, But yeah, that's it. That's all I got. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Excuse me. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify. Well, all of the stars. All the stars you feel like are warranted for the effort. Just put as many stars, please, all the stars. I don't know. Max me out. No, but Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever they let you do that kind of thing. If you don't, that's okay. I really just appreciate you hanging out with me for another day, another episode. If you made it this far, I'll tell you something. Maybe I actually came up with something a little bit lighter. I do mention this in my extra thoughts on the Patreon, but I did finish a book and I started a new one. So I finished my medieval fantasy stuff. More or less. There's like one more book. I'm good though. I think it's like a new start to a series. I'm good. I think though. But yeah, we're back on Kurt Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle. It's kind of good so far. I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, anyway, don't worry about that. But hopefully you come back, and hopefully we got some good news. So hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye bye. Mwah.